Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We thought we'd do something a little bit different today. We bought our 2025 Bailey Adamo back at the end of January, so we've had it about 6 months now, so we thought it was about time we could do a little review and talk through some of the problems and some of the niggles that have presented themselves. A few of the things are just quality control, things that should have been checked and seen before it came out of the factory. We'll just go over a few of those things. So the first thing we're going to look at is actually outside the front of the vehicle. So I'll see you out there in a second. So the first thing to mention, obviously, before we start this, is that this is a 2025 Ford Transit chassis. It's the skeletal chassis, and as most people know, there is a lot of problems with these particular vehicles if you don't really know what you're doing. The first one is these two vents on the top here. If the vehicle is sat around for too long and it's raining or you wash it, then water gets in and sits on top of the injector housing and rusts out the injectors, which can be a big problem. There is a Rob Drew tray that you can buy online. I believe he's got a Facebook page which you can bolt on the top of the engine and that deflects the water away to a safe area. Also, there's water ingress on this side of the windscreen. Sometimes it's from condensation inside and sometimes it's just from water ingress on the outside when it's raining, and that lets water drip onto the ECU, so that causes a lot of problems with the ECU. And then obviously you've got the wet belt situation. Originally it was 100,000 miles to change the wet belt, but after a couple of years they soon realised that they were failing because they were sat in hot oil for a long time and they weren't great quality. So they've reduced that to 50,000 miles or every 5 years now, which can be quite expensive, so definitely something worth thinking about if you're going to buy a Ford chassised motorhome. So the first problem is up on the roof here. I know it's a little bit picky, but the Adamo sticker, which should be in the middle, I mean it's pretty easy, it's not that difficult, but they couldn't put that in the middle. It's slightly over to one side, which is more of an irritant than anything, but certainly something that could have been fixed. And then we'll move on to, so problem number 2 is the electric hookup point. After about a month, the catches on this failed, so it doesn't stick, and as you're driving down the motorway it just flaps all over the place. Very annoying. I mean, you would imagine it would last a little bit longer than a month, but it's the way things are, I suppose. And then we can move straight on to problem number 3 is the front window. Whenever you've got that window open and you open the door bangs into it. There is a catch on the inside top of the door, but it doesn't really seem to do anything. So it's very annoying, so we'll have to get those decals looked at some point. The third thing, I don't know if it will pick up on the camera or not, but there's a staining around the trim of the vehicle. You can just about sort of see it. I've tried to get it off, I can't get it off, but it's on various points all the way around the van, and it's really annoying because, you know, when you've got a new vehicle you expect it to be shiny and clean, but yeah, it's got this staining all the way around, and it's particularly bad in certain places. Problem number 3 is excess silicone. As you can see around here, there's a load of silicone all the way around these fixtures and smeared around the body. This is something also that is basically all over the van. They just didn't check it, didn't wipe it off, and it looks horrific, especially when it gets dirty and stained. So I've lost count of the numbers already, but I think we're on number 5 now. The overcab sunroof, as you can see, we've got some rubber jammed in between. It's one of those non-grip mats, non-slip mats, sorry, that we've put all the way around the edge. And we've had to zip tie it shut because basically when you drive over probably about 30 miles an hour, you get this really loud whistling noise that is awful, especially for the dog. The dog absolutely hates it, and if we go over about 40 or 45 miles an hour, or if a lorry or a bus passes us and causes a backdraft, the sunroof actually opens itself. This is a problem that apparently Bailey have known about since 2017, and instead of putting the thicker rubbers on and actually addressing the problem with some packers on the clips, I don't understand why they're still doing it. I mean, they've known about it for what, 7-8 years now, right back from the Bailey Advance, but yet they're still sending them out the factory like it, and then it goes back into a Bailey centre and gets fixed. I mean, surely it'd be a lot simpler just to fit the correct parts in the first place. So the next issue is with this cupboard. The auto leveling of the camera is not helping, but as you can see, the gap on this side of the cupboard is quite wide, and as you go along it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. Something very simple, should have been picked up on the snagging or the quality control. I can only assume that no one actually checks these vehicles after they're made and they just get sent out as they are. And moving on to the next thing, actually, while we're here, these fabric surrounds, which are just a piece of plyboard with some fabric and foam stapled over them, they're only stuck on with double-sided Velcro. And the day we picked it up, the one on the right hand side fell off completely, and the one on the left hand side, in the heat, the glue must have come unstuck on the Velcro, and it just started slipping. So we've had to take those off, completely redo the Velcro with better quality Velcro, and now they seem to be okay. But when you take them off, you realise how poorly made they actually are. So I'm giving up with the numbers now because I can't remember where we are and we'll be here all day. But something else that's really annoying is this. It doesn't stay down because obviously the lights are fixed in through it. You'd have to remove all of this stuff, and I'm not doing that. At some point we'll just have to try and stick it down with something. On to the next issue. If you can look closely down the side of the fridge here, there are screws that go from the inside of the fridge through into the bathroom wall. But one of the screws, you may just be able to see it down there, didn't actually screw into the wall. So we've got a nice big gap down there, which is very annoying. And another issue is the bathroom door. You can see how much it protrudes at the top, and then as you come down, it goes in and in until you get down to the handle. It's nice and flush how it should be, and then as you go down and down, sticks out more and more until it's sticking out again. Either the door is bowed or the wall of the van is bowed. I'm not entirely sure which, but one of the other annoyances is when they actually drilled the holes for the handle for the door, they've actually broke the wood on the inside. So we've got a nice bulge there. So the next issue is with the oven door. We noticed after a while that it was very loose, just flaps about, doesn't really stay in place, and an awful lot of heat comes out of here. They had initial issues with these because the knobs were actually getting too hot and melting. So a fan was actually installed before production, which blows for about half an hour after you turn the cooker off, just to keep this panel and these knobs cool. And it's even worse now because of this oven door. We have noticed actually that on one side, one of the rivets has popped out at the bottom. So I should imagine, hopefully, with that fixed or replaced, it should be okay, but it's not great. You have to always cook basically on full power and for almost twice as long as recommended on the item that you're cooking. So it's not a great oven, certainly not very efficient. And recently we've just had a recall for this unit here. I believe they're fitting a heat shield across this strip because the heat from the oven is starting to either melt or stain this countertop. So we're on a recall at the moment. We're also waiting for the sunroof to be done. And interestingly, the company that we're using over in Havant, a Bailey recommended repair centre, when Bailey have sent them out the piece to go on the cooker top and the sunroof repair kit, they've actually sent something to do with the outer body moulding, and the dealership that's doing the repairs have no idea what it is. They haven't done one before. There's not much of a description, so when that finally does arrive, it's going to be interesting to see what it is. But one thing I must add, the recall letter, the first one for this oven, came in May. We're now near, well, middle to end of July. They've approved the repair, but they still have not sent the parts to the dealership that's doing the repairs. So it's taken them a good couple of months even to send the parts out. So if this is an issue with safety, overheating or burning, then they're not being very quick on it. Now the lighting's not very good down here, but I wanted to show you quickly another issue that we had. When we picked up the motorhome back in January, we didn't actually realise that the waste pipes weren't connected. So for a good month we were using the motorhome, we were rinsing things down the sink as you would, and then after a little while we started to notice the inside of the garage was wet, and we thought it was water ingress from rain, but it turns out actually that these elbow joints on the waste pipes are not glued, they're not sealed, they're just simply pushed together. And it's not a push fitting, they literally just slide into each other because it's just a normal piece of piping. So they had detached themselves or weren't connected in the first place, and all of our wastewater was just pouring all over the floor of the motorhome. So the next issue is these flimsy plastic runners. We had the bottom pulled out to use as a bed. As soon as someone got on the bed, it broke, completely fell through onto the floor. And this has broke. It's incredibly flimsy plastic, and the piece of wood that actually slides over only overhangs it by about 2 mil, so it really doesn't go in far enough to support it. I mean, it's just another thing that if anyone had actually tested it, they'd have realised it doesn't work. But obviously these days it's a case of knocking it out of the factory as quick as you can, and the parts you use as cheap as you can. Despite the price hikes in motorhomes, the quality appears to be getting cheaper and cheaper. Some of the other issues we've had, and I've been kind of repairing them myself as we go along, but where the beds are, all of these pieces of wood are very loose. They're only fixed in with just a screw really, and to be honest, with some of the roads that we've driven on, I'm quite surprised they've even held together at all. The rear Remy blind actually broke while we were in Lanzarote, so I had to take the whole thing off, join the bits of string together, and it seems to be okay. It's something that I'm going to get repaired, but to be honest, the job that we've done using a bit of duct tape and retying the strings together, it actually seems a lot more solid than it was beforehand. But this literally broke about 8 weeks into ownership. All we did was close the window, the strings snapped, and that was that. So there we are. That's the issues we've had so far. There are a few other little niggles, but I repaired them very easily. So it's probably not really worth mentioning. But I mean, overall, don't get me wrong, we absolutely love the motorhome. We like the layout. The twin drop-down beds is fantastic. Plenty of space, loads of room for the dog to run around in, and everything seems generally okay. I think the main issues really are down to build quality. At the end of the day, loads of these things would have been picked up if a snagger had gone through the van and checked everything correctly. I can only assume that we had one of the earliest models maybe. It came out of the factory before certain things were done. I think we've had 3 upgrade letters now, or recall letters should I say, for things to be done, and we're just waiting for the parts to arrive really. We have had quite a lot of modifications made. One of the first places we took it was Solar Solutions in Dorset, highly recommended. A guy called Wes in there really knows what he's doing. We've had a 460 amp hour lithium battery fitted. We've got a DC to DC charger off the alternator. We've got a mains charger. We've got 750 watts of solar on the roof. We've got a 3000 watt inverter. We had some extra sockets fitted, one just over here, one just underneath the front seat. But I'll do a separate video and I'll run through the upgrades because they have been life-changing, to be honest. I mean, in the 6 months we've owned the vehicle, we've only really hooked up on site once, and that was because we had a week of quite bad weather and we didn't really get the solar. But between driving and solar, we really don't ever have to hook up. We generate enough electricity, so apart from finding water, we're pretty much off grid. So yeah, I'm not trying to put you off buying a Bailey for sure, because we do like the van. I'll just hope this will serve as probably a helpful guide if you're going to look at buying one second hand, or even if you're going to go and look and buy one new. You know what to look out for. There's a few little things here, a few little things there, and obviously bear in mind the Transit chassis with the Transit engine has a few things, but if looked after properly and taken care of, you shouldn't have any issues. It does drive incredibly well, very smooth, very economical. So overall, yes, we're happy, but there's a lot of little things that could have been fixed. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, or at least I hope it was useful and not too boring. Please drop us a comment, like, subscribe. It really helps us. We're enjoying making these videos and we'd like to continue to do so. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.